Hello folks. Well, this time around we want to continue talking about bash scripting, so we'll get into a little bit of the actual syntax and play with some variables and comments and see what some of the white space does and that kind of thing. And just over the next week or two we'll just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the language. So let's see how we can get started here. Now again, last time around we mentioned that you start the script off with the hash bang and the path to the interpreter you want to use. So we want to use the bash interpreter that's in the bin directory in the root. So that's pretty basic. Comments in bash start with the pound sign and then go to the end of the line, so kind of like the double slash in C++. You can pretty much put commands into the script, into your file, as much as you like. Bash assumes that the end of the line marks the end of the command. So one command per line. Now you can have as many blank lines as you like. If you want to put multiple commands on a single line, you separate them with the semicolon. If you want to continue a single command across multiple lines, you end the line, the intermediate lines if you like, with a backslash. You can do all of this stuff on the command line as well as you can in a file. Actually, let's play with that for just a second here. So again, if I wanted to type in a couple of commands on the command line, I wanted to do something like ls and an echo hello. All right, I can do that on the command line and it works just the same as it would in a file. If I want a command to span multiple lines, I can do that. I can say something like echo and a backslash and my hello and then end the line. Oopsie. Let's try that one more time. Missing some white space. So an echo, my backslash, and hello, and see how we go. There we are. So remember your semicolons and your backslash if you want to get multiple things on a line or split something across lines. All right. Let's see if we were going to take a look at a simple script. Again, the idea is we've got the hash bang to start it off, whatever commands you want, and whatever comments you want in it. All right, we'll talk about variables in just one second here. So variables are global by default, and you don't have to do anything special to declare them. As soon as you use it, bash assumes it's declared. The data types are always text. So since it's based on the idea of users typing commands, it assumes that they're typing in text. It will allow some things to be treated as a number, as an integer, depending on the circumstances that you use it in. So we'll talk about that in a sec. Math in bash can be a little weird. And sometimes bash is really flexible about white space, and sometimes it's really picky, which is going to get annoying, but we'll show some examples of that too. So if you want to, let's say, assign a value to a variable, I can say something like y equals 3, and that assigns the value 3 to y, the string 3. If I want to use the value, I throw a $sign in front. So the name of the variable is kind of like a reference, and if you want to look up the value that's in there, you use the $sign to dereference it. So let's take a quick look at playing with that a little bit. So if we take our my script example that we had a moment ago, we said, okay, x is assigned 3. We'll print out x is, and then we use the $x to show what the content of it is. I'll make a variable y and set it equal to x, right? Print out y, and then I'll set x equal to some other string and print that out, and hopefully that all works out okay. So we'll try a /myscript.sh to run it. And it says this is my script, shows me x as 3, shows me, oops, y is x. What did I do there? And then shows the new value of x at the end there. Oh, in here I set y equal to a reference to x instead of the value of x. Good example of our point? No, not on purpose. I mean, yeah, it was on purpose, but yeah. So there we are. X is 3, y is assigned the same value, and then we change x to the text at the end. So this all works out reasonably well. We'll go back to our discussion for a bit. Again, you've seen the echo command a couple of times now, right? You can use things like the dollar, whatever the variable name is, in an echo statement to print it out. Anything else that's inside the double quotes just comes out as regular old text. There is also a printf that allows you to use things like the \ns and whatnot. So it works kind of similar to C or C++, where you've got a bunch of text and you throw in a placeholder, so a %x, for instance, and then the actual value of the variable as an argument later on. I'm going to use mostly echo in this. Now, we can read values from the command line using the read command, and you just specify what variables it's supposed to go into. And you can throw in a prompt if you want to with the read, so the prompt comes up first, and then it waits for the user to type in something. So read -p, and then whatever your prompt is, and then the variable it's supposed to go into. When you've got things like this with multiple variables on a line, the first word of user input goes into x, the second word goes into y, and the rest of the line goes into the last variable. So we could try that out a little bit. Just pop over to our window here. All right, so let's say we try something like, let's get rid of this stuff, and say, I don't know, let's start x off as 3 again, and then we'll do a read -p, I don't know, enter a new value for x, and then we'll stick it in variable x, and then we'll just print it out. Now x is whatever it is. So we run it. So enter new value for x. I type in, I don't know, 37. And it says now x is 37. Or I run it and I type in hello there. And x is now hello there. So since x is the only variable on the line, it grabs the whole line, puts it in x. Just in terms of the white space pickiness I mentioned, you know, we're all used to languages where white space is pretty flexible. So it's pretty natural for me to wind up when I'm typing something in to write it like this, x equals 3 with spaces, so it's nice and readable. But if I do that, again, this is one of the places where Bash is picky, and it complains that x is not found, and it goes on trying to run the script from there. So I get this complaint about that white space assignment, but it goes on and tries to run the rest of the commands in the script anyways. All right, so just things to watch out for. Let's go back and fix that before I forget about it. And just double check. Yeah. All righty. So we've got variables, we've got output, we've got input, we've got comments. You can use any kind of a command in your Bash script that you would use normally, so things like the IO redirection. If I was to try something in my script like, let's say in here someplace I try, let's run ls from, I don't know, the directory above wherever we are right now, and put it into some new file. Right, so this is going to run just as if I typed the command in. Oops, which includes prompting me for whatever x is. Now, in theory, this should have done an ls on the directory above us and put it into some new file. So let's look in some new file, and sure enough, it worked out just fine. So anything you can do on the command line, you can do in your script. I did want to mention here strings. Sometimes there's a command that expects a file name as an argument. So You know, whether it's something like less or more or sort or whatever it might be, where it expects to be given a file to sort or to look at. Well, if you want to, you can actually pipe the contents from a string into the command instead. And that's where these here strings come in. You use the 3 less than symbols and then the string that you want the command to read from. So, for instance, ordinarily, let's pop over to our example here again. Ordinarily, the command less, again, expects the name of some new file, and it shows you the contents of the file. If I run less and I say I want you to, instead of reading a file, I want you to take it from whatever I type here, you know, blah, 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 it does just exactly that. So here strings are something that can be handy depending on what you're trying to do. And you can also use a variation where instead of the triple less than, you give 2 less thans and then some keyword, any word you want to make up. And then when you run the command using that, you can type in multiple lines of stuff, and then whatever keyword you used at the beginning here, just use that to mark the end of the input. And so your command will keep reading everything as input until it hits that ending keyword. So try this from our command line here. Let's say less than, stop. And I start typing in stuff. And eventually I type in stop. And it ends, and it uses that as the input for the command. So here strings, something that can be very handy, and I didn't show you any of that on the screen, did I? Because I was showing you the other window. Let's do that one more time. So you can see it happening up here, but we'll do that interactively. So if I say less some new file, it shows me the contents of a file. If I say less than in my keyword, so let's say stop, and I type in a bunch of stuff, and then I type in stop, it stops and shows me whatever the content was. Alrighty, take 2 we got there. Okay, so that's our first run through of some basic bash. We'll pick it up with more and more features in each of the coming sessions.